Welcome to watching Believe It or Not, a series of stories that we bring to you every week. Can you guess which of the stories are true and which are just made up by the AI? I wish you an undisturbed listening. First story, City of Forgotten Souls.
It was an abandoned town in the middle of a dark forest called Cocktown. People called it the City of Forgotten Souls. There was something ominous about him, something no one could explain. The inhabitants disappeared, leaving behind only empty, abandoned houses. Locals talked about the shadow that walked the deserted streets at night and the loud screams that sometimes broke the silence. A young reporter named Kate was given the task in '74 to find out what happened to this mysterious city. During the day, everything was fine, but when it got dark, this deserted city turned into a living nightmare. This reporter decided to spend the night in one of the abandoned houses that were once home to several families. The city was shrouded in a dark mist that created strange shapes and mysterious shadows. Kate decided to explore the old library downstairs. When she opened the door, she felt a cool wind and heard soft whispers. In the library, she came across an old diary that belonged to someone who had lived here many years ago. The diary was full of records of strange events and dark rituals. The more Kate read, the more threatened she began to feel. Something invisible began to follow her every move. As she made her way to the kitchen to get water, she heard dark whispers in the hallway. Suddenly, a shadow appeared on the wall that had a human shape but was shapeless and dark. She tried to run, but a shadow surrounded her and pinned her to the ground. She felt her breath disappear as dark hands gripped her tightly. Suddenly, she was freed. Kate stared in horror at the shadow that vanished into thin air. Something seemed to drive him away, but what it was she couldn't make out. All that was left was darkness and cold. She decided to leave the house, but as soon as she stepped outside, she found that a dark force wouldn't let her go. For anyone who touches it is swallowed up in shadow, and its cries are heard throughout this forgotten land. Kate found herself in a hopeless situation. She was haunted by shadows, and when she tried to communicate with someone outside the city, these dark forces prevented her. She was trapped in this city where the shadows fed on fear and death. She became just another forgotten soul, searching in the darkness for answers to questions no one asked anymore.
Which of the stories really happened and which is just a figment of our imagination? Write your type in the comments and you will find out the correct answer at the end of the video. Second story, Dyatlov Pass.
It was in January in the last year of the 1960s, when a group of 9 experienced climbers went on an expedition to the Urals. Their goal was to reach the top of the Otorten mountain. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, after whom this case is named. The expedition started well. The group reached the designated camp and began to prepare for the climb. But then something happened. When none of the members responded on the scheduled date, a search operation was launched. Searchers found their tent cut open from the inside. Most of their belongings and clothes were left inside, indicating that they had to leave the tent quickly and in a panic in the middle of the freezing night. Bodies were found scattered around, some half-naked and with strange injuries such as broken ribs and skulls, but no outward signs of violence. The investigation into the case was shrouded in secrecy. Soviet authorities closed the case with the vague conclusion that the climbers had died due to the overwhelming force of the elements. What happened that fateful night remains a mystery to this day. Various theories attempt to explain what happened. Some speculate an avalanche could explain why they left the tent. Others believe they may have been victims of Soviet military experiments. And some even claim that they may have encountered something paranormal. The Dyatlov Pass case is one of the most haunting unexplained stories of the 20th century. Whatever happened, the event left a deep mark on history and is still a source of fascination and speculation.
Which of the stories really happened and which is just a figment of our imagination? Write your type in the comments and you will find out the correct answer at the end of the video. Third story, the psychiatric asylum.
I sit here in the shadow of a forgotten mental institution, where shadows form mysterious outlines and the air is saturated with the desire to forget. Dark memories that happened here whisper all around me. Reality and nightmares mix in my mind, and I can't resist the temptation to explore this ominous atmosphere. When I first entered these dark corridors, I thought I could hear the rasping of souls that were locked away in their own minds. Voices from the walls crept into my ears and I thought they were calling me. But it wasn't a normal call. It was a call of desperation and hopelessness that stuck in my thoughts. I walked through rooms where the human spirit once languished and felt the cold touch of the past on my skin. In one of the rooms, I saw the remains of an ancient bed, and on the floor what looked like dried blood. My breathing quickened, and my eyes searched for something to calm me, but instead, all I found were shadows turning into dark figures. I heard footsteps behind me, but when I turned around, no one was there. My pulse quickened, and my mind began to trick my senses. At one point, I saw the shadow of a figure moving quickly around the corner of the corridor, but it disappeared again. My legs were heavy as lead, but my curiosity kept me going. I walked into the room where the patient files were. Papers were scattered on the floor, and I accidentally grabbed one. I read the name, Mia Hartigan. Suddenly, the room changed its character. I thought I could feel her presence and hear her muffled moans at the same time. Suddenly, the wall began to shake, and a young girl's face appeared in the shadows. Her eyes were full of pain and pleas for help. She was shouting something I couldn't hear, but her hopeless expression was clearly readable. My fear peaked and I tried to run, but the room closed in on me as if it wanted to hold me back. Suddenly, I found myself in a dark cell, surrounded by shadows full of memories. I heard her desperate cries, as if she were trapped in an endless prison in my thoughts. The ghosts of the past became reality, and I was trapped in the shadows these walls hid. Despair and fear left me only the moment I heard a distant voice whispering to me that these places were forgotten for a reason, and if I did not leave now, my own soul would find its eternal rest here. I ran out with the last of my strength, leaving behind loud moans and screams that were lost forever in the shadows of the mental hospital.
What about the story of a young reporter who went to the City of Forgotten Souls and never came back? Do you think this really happened? But somehow, this was just an artificial AI. What about the group of mountaineers who set out on their expedition to the Urals, only to be left with a ripped-up tent? You think it's not possible? You are wrong. This story really happened. And even though today's media talks about the climbers overestimating their strength and freezing, it is still a mystery to many. What about the narrator who decided to explore the old mental hospital he almost failed to escape from? Did you feel that it reminded you of something? But no, it was just another figment of our imagination because the same story never happened. How did you like the stories? What would you like to see next? And how successful were you in guessing? Tell us in the comments. And we're at the end of the regular Thursday Believe It or Not series. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss more videos.